If you're wondering what's actually happening in the Huron County real estate market right now, the honest truth is not a lot has changed. The market is moving, but it is slower. Weather, economic uncertainty, and buyer hesitation are all playing a role, and seller expectations are still needing to adjust a little bit. So today I'm going to walk you through where homes are actually selling, where they're not, and how you can use this information to make better decisions right now. Let's start with months of inventory because this is one of the clearest ways to understand the pace of the market. Months of inventory tells us how long it would take to sell all the current listings if no new homes came to the market. So the higher the number, the slower things are moving. In February, we were at 7.8 months of inventory. That's down from 13.5 in January, which is about a 42% drop month over month, but still higher than February last year at 6.2. So what this is telling us is that we're starting to move out of that deeper winter slowdown, but we're not in a fast-moving market. We're also seeing fewer listings being taken off the market compared to earlier this winter. A lot of that just comes down to real life, which is weather, accessibility, and timing. I've had clients in this exact situation where it just wasn't realistic to keep a home active. What matters more is how buyers are responding. They're taking their time, and the homes that are priced well and show up as strong value are the ones that are getting the most attention. Now, going into pricing, just hear me out for a second because I always like to mention that our sample size in Huron County is super small and can skew the numbers, and February is a really good example of that. The average price came in around $900,000, which is wild, so let me dissect that for you a little bit. That is up from $645,000 in January and $523,000 in February last year, but that number doesn't reflect the typical home right now. Out of 44 total sales last month, 8 of those were between $900,000 and over $5 million, which heavily pulls that average up. In comparison, January only had 5 sales in that higher price bracket range, and it also only capped at $2 million. When we break it down further, 29 of the sales were detached homes with an average price of $534,000. 3 were attached or condo style, and 12 fell into the other category with an average sale around $1.8 million. So you can kind of see how the average is being pulled up by those higher price points, but most of the sales were still in our normal average. So in this market report, we're also going to talk about the median because that is what matters more here. The median price came in at $497,000, up from $447,000 in January. And that gives us a much clearer picture of where most of the buyers are actually active. The majority of our sales are still happening under $500,000. So where homes are selling right now is very price dependent. Watching your specific price bracket is going to give you far more clarity than looking at the overall county average. And if you're not sure what's happening in your price range, you can always reach out and I can help you break it down. Looking at days on market, we are starting to see some movement as we come out of winter. The average days on market in February was 65, down from 98 in January, and improved from 99 days last year. The median days on market was 37. Homes are moving a bit quicker than they were in the middle of winter, but they're still taking their time to sell, which I think is actually a good thing, honestly. What we're seeing now is a more balanced pace where buyers have time to think through the decisions. For sellers, if the goal is to create urgency and shorten that timeline, it's going to come down to how you're going to position the home from day one. Pricing ahead of the market and presenting strong value is what gives buyers a reason to act sooner instead of waiting for your first price drop. On the interest rate side, variable rates are around 3.9% and 5-year fixed rates are around 4.19%. We've seen fixed rates start to move up slightly again, while variable rates have remained more stable. So buyers are really choosing based on comfort. Fixed rates offer stability in payments, while variable rates can still offer lower overall borrowing costs over time if you're comfortable with some movement. Another factor right now is the number of homeowners coming up for renewals from 2021 to 2023. And many of those mortgages were locked in at a much lower rate. So as they renew, monthly payments are increasing. And that is affecting affordability and slowing some decision making down in this market. At the same time, there is still pent-up demand, especially from first-time home buyers, but they are being more cautious about what they do want to actually take on financially. When I look at everything happening in Huron County right now, it really comes back down to how buyers and sellers are interacting with pricing. Buyers are still active, but they have far more intention in how they are going to move forward. They are watching listings, they're comparing options, and waiting for something that clearly makes sense before stepping forward. Many are holding off to see what spring inventory brings, but when a property is priced right and aligns with their expectations, lots of buyers are still willing to act. Where I'm seeing the biggest disconnect is on the seller side with pricing expectations. There's still this tendency to price higher to leave room for negotiation, but in this market, that approach is often working against the seller. Negotiation only happens when you have the buyer through the door first. The properties that are performing right now are the ones pricing ahead of the market. That means understanding what has sold in the last 90 days, how those homes compare, how long they took to sell, and where they're actually landed relative to their original list price. When a home is positioned at or slightly below where buyers see value, it creates confidence right away. And that confidence is what creates urgency, and the urgency is what gives sellers the leverage to stay at their prices. If a property is priced even $10,000 to $15,000 above where buyers expect to be, it often results in more time on the market, and in many cases, the same or even lower final result. Looking at days on market alongside price ranges helps make this very clear, because it shows exactly where buyers are engaging and where they're choosing to wait. If you're trying to figure out all of this on your own and what it means, whether you're buying, selling, upsizing, or thinking about a move later this year, your situation is always going to be unique. There are still opportunities in this market, but they can be more specific and require more strategy than there used to be. I've got resources in the description that can help you get started, and if you want to talk through your situation, I'm always here for that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next month.